Welcome in, you guys. This is your host, Andrea, with From Mrs. to Ms. I am joined by someone very special today. We have in the house with us today, Talia Corin. Hey, Talia, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for joining me. And I just want everybody to kind of know exactly who you are. Talia is the host of Dating Intentionally, a podcast dedicated to helping daters worldwide navigate love with confidence and purpose. With over 100,000 monthly listeners, amazing, and a growing Instagram following, her goal is to make dating more intentional and fun. I'm excited already. I love talking about dating. So Talia is originally from New Jersey. She spent 10 years in New York City before moving to the Bay Area, where she lives with her fiance, now husband, right? You got married, and their rescue dog, Coconut. In 2016, she founded Work Week Lunch, a company Talia successfully exited in 2023. She's an expert in social media, email marketing, copywriting, and membership businesses. Outside of work, she's passionate about cooking, snowboarding, road trips, and planning epic vacations. Good
What an
stuff.
introduction. Thank you.
I know. This is all you. It's all you. So I love hearing about this just because it's super exciting. First of all, to hear all of this cool stuff you're doing. I love that you had your company Work Week Lunch before, and you kind of, I was reading a lot about it on your blog that I found, and it was just very cool to hear about how you went through that process. It was like about 6 years, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken,
yeah.
and then trying to get out of it and the different things you were trying to do. So we can touch base on that a little bit, but mainly I want to talk about dating
Oh,
intentionally.
yeah, for
Yes,
sure.
for sure. So let's start at the beginning. So how did you get from Work Week Lunch to dating intentionally, and why did you start it?
Yeah, so I started dating intentionally while I still had my former company as a creative outlet. And
Okay.
also, I had gone through a breakup and I was starting to date. And I realized very quickly that I was the only person having fun out here and everyone else was not having fun. And I'm just kind of like, I want to change this. I want
Yeah.
more people to enjoy this process because it's actually really fun when you let go, when you of the pressure and kind of take the pressure off and lower the stakes.
Mm,
So that was what's how I started dating intentionally. And then yes, I exited the company, which is like, similar to any breakup. It was very emotional. It was very hard.
yeah.
Like it was probably the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
And then I took a break and I was like, well, what am I gonna do next? Oh, I have this dating account. Let's start a podcast. Let's see where it goes. So I've been kind of doing it full time, dating intentionally full time for a year. And
Okay.
of course, within the last year, I did get move in with my now husband, get engaged, and we got married. So,
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
whirlwind in a year.
a lot happened in the last few years for sure.
Oh, I love that. So I like what you said about people aren't really having fun dating because that is so true. Most of my listeners, when I'm hearing the stories from them, it's like it's a beatdown. Nobody wants to do the dating, especially the online dating. I always kind of found it fun, but from the aspect of I just like to go out and
Yes, right.
just
I
kind of
think,
meet
yeah,
new
like
people.
we have to acknowledge like there are certain types of people who just like to go out and like talk and I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't know about you, but I used to work from home all day by myself. I needed more than
an
just my
outlet.
friends, but like, more social interaction.
I know. I was kind of the same. And I started dating perpetually for a while. Like it seemed like every night I had a different date. And I started to pin it down to, oh, it's just because I am lonely, I'm bored at home, and I'm just looking for somebody to entertain me. It may even be somebody that I didn't find any interest in, wasn't, anything on my
Yeah.
list, but I'm like, hey, it's a night out, And so I think that
Yes.
I don't know if that's good or bad to be that way. I would love your thoughts on that.
I think it's whatever makes you enjoy the process because in doing that, you might eventually meet someone who you really click with, right? It's not
Yeah.
like you were closed off, or I don't know, but like you don't have to be closed off if you are
Yeah.
just kind of dating for fun to connection. It's just you're not putting the pressure, you're not trying to make sure that every first date you go on is your last. Like,
Yes.
and also like I know I'm married. I might,
Yeah.
who knows what's gonna happen? I could end up going on first dates again in my life.
You just don't
That's
know.
that's the that's the truth.
Yeah.
Something could happen and who knows. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
And really, I
I'm
think it's kind of the beauty of it, of people not putting so much pressure on themselves to have every date mean something. I think it
Yeah.
can just kind of mean whatever it is in that moment, whether it is just a fun night out, whether it's a roll in the hay, whether it's,
Yeah.
whatever it turns into, just appreciate it for what it is at the moment and don't make such a big to do about it. That's kind of,
Right.
but I didn't used to think that way. So I think it's like, when I was in it, more
Yeah.
so, I was more in it. It was, you couldn't help but I think in that other way of like, as you're getting ready, you're like, okay, tonight's the one. Please let me like him. You're doing all of these things as I'm walking up to meet him. I'm like, okay, please let me like this guy,
Yeah.
on Bumble and Hinge for the most part, which I enjoyed both of them. But like, yeah, I don't even remember really getting on the Facebook dating. It just is at the bottom of your screen. And I was like, hey, whatever. And so I think though that you can kind of view people's profiles, which are usually a lot more accurate than what we're probably getting on the other dating sites.
Right.
Yeah. And so I think
I
that
like
helps.
Facebook dating because like people you can write more about yourself, right? Like there's
Yeah.
more of a longer about me section that you don't get on Bumble and you don't get on Hinge at
Yes.
all.
Not so many rules. And
Yeah.
that's the one thing I actually don't like about some of the dating sites like Bumble, that they have 24 hours to
I
respond.
hate it. Yeah,
And
no,
I hate that too. I feel like
it
that's
doesn't
not a
work.
true somebody really wanting people to meet somebody because not everybody's going to meet in 24 hours. You're sleeping for 8 to 9 hours of that, and then they're at work. It gives you such a small amount of time that you're like, well,
Yeah.
oh, and if they don't respond, I never get to talk to them again. Like,
I
what
have
kind
a
of
tip for
emotion is that?
Bumble.
Yeah.
And that is only use Bumble when your schedule is wide open. Only use
Oh,
it when you are ready to be going on dates. That is the
yeah.
only time you should be using Bumble. If you're really busy and you're traveling, don't. Just don't
It's
even
not
look at
worth
it.
it.
Yeah.
No. And it's weird that it picks up in other places when you travel to other places. Like I'll go
Yeah.
back to Dallas and I'll land and I start getting messages. Are you here? And I'm
Right.
like, what? Yeah, it's kind of weird. I do like Hinge, and I did hear recently that they changed so that you can only be talking to, I think, a maximum of 8 people at a time,
Yeah.
which I think is really great too, that they do
That's
that.
like what Bumble wants you. It's like trying to get you to do that, but Hinge is doing it better because I think it's
Yeah.
like you just can't make more matches if you have 8 open conversations that you have to respond to. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, look at all these people you already matched with. Like, stop trying to get more matches.
And we're still
I
looking
met
for
my
more.
husband on Hinge, by the way, so
Oh, you
I'm
did?
very yeah, I'm pro Hinge for sure.
Yeah. I think that's great, but you're right. We're sitting there, we're talking to 8 people. We're still looking for more because I think that's just the way our world is today. It's like temptation, and when is enough enough, right? It's like feeding
Yeah,
our ego. Oh, I've got 8 people. I bet I could get 10. You know?
right, right.
I don't know. So, okay, so tell us about the one year where you went out on this. It was crazy to me. It was after a 6 year relationship. You did this one year where you were just being single, but you went out with 64 people, around 180 dates in 10 months.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay, so
yeah.
you were perpetually dating too.
Yeah, well, okay, so I know it sounds weird, but I really did want to be single for a whole year, but I
Mhm.
was, you can be single and dating. Like
Yeah,
I just told people I wasn't looking for a relationship and I wasn't looking for anything serious. So a lot of the dates just ended up being like by the third date it was cut off because after that, if you're not looking for anything
yeah.
serious, there's no point in continuing to
What are you
date.
gonna do?
Unless the sex is like amazing or something. I don't know, but like
Yeah, yeah,
I wasn't really sleeping with a lot of these guys. I was just kind of going out like just to have a drink or
yeah,
like I wasn't really looking for sex, like which is no judgment, right? It just wasn't what
yeah.
I was looking
Sure.
for. Um
Yeah.
and then eventually I did start to feel ready, right? I did start to feel
Mm,
ready and open. My heart was a little more open to a relationship close to the
yeah.
1 year mark. And that is when I
Okay.
met my husband. So like, it's
Calling in
just
the
kind
one.
of yeah. But like here's the thing though. I think I met a lot of guys before my husband who could have been great for me. I just
Yeah.
wasn't ready.
Ready.
I just wasn't open. My heart wasn't
Yeah.
open. So like I don't think there's the one for everyone. I
Yeah.
really do think timing is a big part of it. And it
Yeah.
just was the right time to meet him.
So it's the right one at the right time. It's not necessarily the
Yes.
right one. I think that's a huge point to make because we tend to jump in and not be fully ready to receive that love or like actually be in it for something more than
Yeah.
just, what it is. And so I think that's really cool to point out that you can have fun. It doesn't mean you can't like have that time like you did, but when you are ready, that's when you become intentional about it. Right.
Yes.
So what was that like doing
I had a blast.
180?
I had fun. Like this isn't like when you think about the things that you do in your life that you do many like a lot, like
Yeah.
frequently, it's because you enjoy it probably,
Yeah.
right? Especially
Yeah.
with what's in your free time. So I just really liked dating. I liked I was when in my relationship, I think it was like 2 years past the expiration date. So I was just so ready to meet people.
Yes.
I was excited. I had like that fire. I was so motivated. I did not get burned out. There, I did have like a 2-monther, like that kind of ended in a dramatic way that I took a little break. Like there were a couple ups and downs,
Yeah.
but
Whoa, dramatic. Like what? What? I gotta hear.
he had a drinking problem and it just
Oh,
yeah like and he told
hard.
me on our third date I'm working on my relationship with alcohol and I really didn't know what that meant and then I did find out what that meant and I ended it and I think he's sober now so you
Oh,
know
that's
yeah
good.
yeah but like you leave him better than you found him I guess is
Yeah, yeah.
the idea
Wow. So,
but yeah I think I did have ups and downs I did have people reject me I did experience all these things but I wanted to I wasn't afraid of getting hurt it was like
mhm.
I think we need to have more resilience. I think that this is
Yeah.
a skill that we really need to cultivate in dating so that it's like you are going to get hurt even if you find the love of your life. They're going to hurt each other. It's just
Yeah,
part of being in love.
it is. We
Yeah.
just,
So
yeah, we need to
I
go
think I
through
was just
that.
ready to throw myself in. That was really what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what happened when your husband came around that changed everything, that made you now want to go, okay, this is one I want to settle with?
Well, yeah, I was okay. So I started to feel ready. And so the week I met my husband online, I actually had 7 first dates that week, including him. And
Oh,
I do not recommend this. Like listeners,
yeah.
like please do not, this is not what I recommend as a dating coach, as a dating podcaster.
Yeah.
Like I just did that because I was coming off of something that ended and I just
Yeah.
was like going nuts. So um we had our first date was actually on Google Hangouts, like a
Oh,
video call date because
okay.
we were not in the same location and I felt a little tricked because we were talking
Oh,
for a while and I don't usually talk to people for a while and I was just kind of like, can we meet for coffee? Like, let's go. And he's like, well,
he
I
didn't live
can't
where
because
you
I'm not
did?
there. Um, yeah, so we met on Google Hangouts, and he was in the process of moving to where I was, which was in Seattle at the time.
Okay.
And he had a job at an apartment there. So I knew he was like
Mm,
definitely going to be in Seattle.
yeah.
And then we had 4 virtual dates before we met in person. And I think that was kind of like,
Oh,
it kind of was a slow burn. Like I
yeah.
was, every time he texted me for another phone call or virtual, like a Google Hangout, I was like, why is this person still talking to me? Like I kind of was just like, I expected the first one, we hung up and I'm like, I don't think I'm ever going to hear from this man again. Not that I was like dying to either. I was just like,
Okay.
I think he's
You were on the
lining up all
fence.
these dates with women like in Seattle, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And but no, he kept talking to me and I kind of just kept letting him
Yeah.
pursue me. I just kept
Yeah.
being like, okay, like I'm being pursued by this man in a very gentle way that I like. I'm gonna just
Uh-huh.
keep letting it happen. And then eventually we met and I was still dating other people. He was number 56 of
Oh,
the 64.
I
So I
love
was
that you know
still,
that.
yeah, I was still dating other people. And then eventually just like got down to a point where it was him and one other guy.
Yeah.
And I was just I had double booked myself and I realized I'm like, I'm looking forward to my date with Johnny, my husband, and the other guy. And that was
Oh,
like kind of it. I'm like, okay, like, so I just let the
yeah.
other guy go. And then I just kept dating my husband. Like it just
Yeah.
kind of ended up tapering off into like only focusing on him.
I think that's really cool though, because you do start to figure that out as you go along. And so I love what you did by dating all these people because you really start to weed it out and you figure
Yeah.
out like what works for you, what you're into. And a lot of times people think like what they think they're going to like or is on their list ends up totally not being it. Just
Yeah.
things change, or you can be so specific about what you want them to look like, and then you try a date with somebody else and they're just so different.
Yeah,
You like it.
he is not my type at all, like
He's not?
physically. I mean, look,
Yeah.
I'm extremely attracted to him.
Yeah.
Obviously, I wouldn't marry someone I'm not attracted to, but
Yeah.
I've never dated someone who has his appearance. He is like skinny with like red hair and a big beard. And it's like, I never dated guys with red hair because I kind of have red hair and
Yeah.
everyone and my brother does too. So like
Yeah.
I just kind of was like, no, I'll pass on
And he's
that. But
cuter
like,
than she's describing him, guys.
no,
She's like, he's
he's
skinny with red hair.
no,
And
are you
he's
kidding? No,
cutie.
he
Yeah.
like it's like this is why I always say and it a lot of women get angry with me because they're like, you don't tell men this. And I'm just like, I just think men and women are a little bit different and that men
Yeah.
know if they're attracted to someone sooner than women. I think
Yep.
women need to build more trust and familiarity
Yeah.
with someone before they can tell if there's a real strong sexual desire. Like you
Hmm.
can see someone hot across a room, but if they open their mouth and they're an idiot, like you won't be attracted to them.
You'd be
So
so
it's like
turned
the
off.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like as I got to know him, I got more attracted to him. And I knew he was a good looking person when I met him. It just like wasn't my type.
Your
Like
type. Yeah.
it's like I know like George Clooney is attractive, but I want to date
Hmm.
a George Clooney? I don't know. It's like
No.
that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think also you doing your virtual dating ahead of time, like you said, I think it's a great way for you to kind of get to know somebody without putting yourself out there, especially if you're nervous about actually going out on a date. I think it can be really cute to do like just a wine and video date night. You might just have
Yeah.
a glass of wine together and you're just kind of online, just like this, just chatting and getting to know each other. And it takes away that scarce part of being
Yeah.
like physical with somebody. I know a lot of people are worried about, and me included, when I used to come to like a third date or something, I'm like, oh, he's going to want sex now, and I would start preparing myself for that. Even though you can say no, it's always weird, especially if they're
Yeah.
taking you out to a nice restaurant. I remember sometimes
Yeah. You
canceling,
feel
and
pressure.
you do. You do. So I think that's a really, really nice way to kind of take the pressure off.
I'm with you. Like I made a point to wait to get physical with
Mhm.
people. That was something that I like part of my dating journey and what I recommend listeners do. It's like you have the chance to recognize your patterns that hold you back,
Mhm.
the mistakes you keep making. Like you need to take
Yeah.
accountability for that. Like the people you choose to keep talking to,
Yeah.
you have control over this. So I noticed for me, I would sleep with people too quickly and then I
Hmm.
would lose interest
Yep.
after. And I don't know why I have this issue. I have a therapist. I don't know why I don't. I made a point to wait. So there was a moment like on our fourth date, it was like near his apartment. And I said before the date, I'm like, look, I know this is near your apartment. Like I just expectation setting, I'm not going to go home with you after this date.
Oh, good.
And he
And
was
how did
like,
he?
he was very positive and receptive. He's like, I totally get it. Like I'm excited to spend time with you either
Yeah.
way. And that was great. It was a great moment of like, oh, this man's like receptive to
Yeah.
boundaries and he doesn't get weird.
Yeah. And truly they should be. If they're really into you,
Yeah.
they should be willing to wait. That shouldn't be, the one thing that's holding it up. So I think
But it's
that
really more for me than him. I also like it was like really me telling myself like do not go home with this man
yeah.
on the fourth date. Like you need more time.
Yes, I hear you. Yes, it is hard. I just remember, I remember that too. And just always feeling like they think you were a prude if you said no, and I found myself even saying that, okay, like I'm not a prude, but I don't want to
Yeah.
go home with you tonight. And I thought, you know what? Why do I even have to say that? It's my body, my choice, my decision. And if they respect you and genuinely like you, want to be with you, then they will be receptive of that as well. And you setting your boundaries. So I think that was
Yes.
really smart to do that. Do you think people should do that up front? Like kind of go, hey, what's,
No, I don't think that's necessarily like the move every
yeah,
time. I think you have to know yourself. Like I knew myself in that moment. I knew that I
yeah,
might be tempted
yeah,
to do that. And it's like, no, I'm trying not to. I think it's also fine to wait until it kind of comes up to be like, I'm not ready for this. Like you don't
yeah.
like a boundary can be retro like a reactive thing. It doesn't have to be
Hmm.
proactive.
Mm.
Sometimes if you're proactive about it, it's a little presumptuous. Like
Yeah.
that could have been very
Yeah.
like he could have been like,
It's
I
like,
wasn't gonna invite you up.
right. And then
So
you're
I
gonna
think
feel worse than you
yeah, so I
did.
think it's okay to wait until if a guy or someone's like being like, "Oh, you want to come up?" and you're like, "Actually, I'm not ready." Like you
Yeah.
can wait and do it
Yeah.
that way too.
Oh, I like that. I like that. So why do you think you said you were kind of sleeping with them early and then you would get just turned off? Do you think it was like
I
the
don't know.
chase you were missing? I feel like,
Maybe, yeah, I think I was
yeah.
more of a like I wanted to earn it. I wanted to, and it's just like so not. That's like,
Yeah.
that's an insecure attachment thing. That's like just one of my internal things I had to deal with.
Yeah.
And then I eventually learned through my dating journey that I don't have to do or be anything extra to earn someone's affection. I can just be myself.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm so lucky I met my husband by the time I fully learned that
Yeah.
because if I hadn't, I don't think we would have made it.
Yeah.
I
Oh, I
really
love
don't.
that. I love
Yeah.
that though. That's
Like
good
he doesn't,
recognition.
he like knows how like I'm a personal development junkie. Like, come on, I have a podcast about dating. And he's always like, I wish you'd work on yourself less. Like, you don't need to constantly work on yourself. Like, you are fine. And that's
Yeah.
so nurturing to me.
Very much. I love that. That's really cool. So, okay, so during the 10 months of dating, you figured out your five non-negotiables in a relationship. So tell us what those are and how did knowing
Yes.
these how did it change your approach to dating?
So I actually figured my non-negotiables out in my relationship. That's why I left. right? So it took me
Okay.
like 5 years in therapy to figure out what I need in a relationship, which is why I talk about it so much. I don't want people to spend 5 years in the wrong relationship, spending
Yeah.
thousands on therapy to figure this out because you
Yeah.
don't have to. So for me, that my needs are like I've revised them at this point, but it's like I need someone who is open-minded in
Yeah.
so many different ways. I need someone who has the means and time to travel and desire for
Hmm.
novel experiences.
Okay.
Um, I need someone who is ambitious personally and wants to have goals together.
Hmm.
I need them to be the person who I want to be around when shit hits the fan,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
super important. And when there's good news, right?
Yeah.
And I need them to be open or in some way pursuing self-development.
Okay. So was the last guy like just a total loser?
No, he
For
had a
what?
few of those things. He didn't.
Okay.
So of the five things I said I was willing to stay in a relationship where I had three or more because no one's
Okay.
perfect.
Yep.
Like if I could have three solidly, the other two we can figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think that that's realistic, right? I
Yeah.
think people's lists are way too long.
Agreed. So where's
Like
Johnny at? Is he in the
he
three,
has all
4, 5?
five. No, I mean he
Oh,
not
nice.
100% of all five, but he
Yeah.
has all five. You know
But
what
a
I mean?
little bit
Like
of
it's like
each.
yes, like he doesn't do therapy, but like if I show him a book about relationships, he will
Yeah.
read it.
Okay.
Like yeah, without any question. So it's
Yeah.
like that is the openness I was looking for.
Oh, I love that. That's really cool. Okay, so some of your Instagram posts mention experiment. You're going this with being bi.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
So,
am bi.
okay.
Yeah.
So you said you never got past the first date though, with some of them.
Yeah.
So you, okay, so let's talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What initially drew you to like dating women, and at what point in your life did you get, was it like before your 6 year relationship, in between, during your dating discoveries? Tell us
Yeah,
about
yeah, I think I've been attracted to women forever. Like I
that.
think I just was born by. Like
Yeah.
I don't remember a
Yeah. My
time where I
son is, so I
didn't
know. Yeah.
find women not attractive. Like I've always found like I think I'm more attracted to personalities and energy than a specific gender, but like
Yeah.
yeah, no, I in college I got to explore, in high school I got to explore, like after college, my last relationship we experimented with open relationship situations, so I got
Mm.
like I had many points in my life where I got to explore being with women romantically and sexually.
Yeah.
In terms of dating, there was a point in my journey where I realized like my five needs, those did not need to be in the body of a man. Like
Oh,
everything I just said, like I don't need a man to embody those. I just
no.
want a partner who wants the same things as me and like it meets these needs. So I did date women, but here's why it didn't really work out for me. So I was living in Seattle
Uh-huh.
and I moved to Seattle with my ex and we broke up in Seattle. And then when I was on the apps dating women, I realized that he also could be dating the same women.
Oh,
And that kind of freaked me out. And that's why I
yeah.
just didn't as
Just
much.
kind of
That's really the
stop.
reason. I think if I had moved out of Seattle
Yeah.
sooner while I was single, I would have pursued it more. But like it just kind of gave me too much anxiety.
Yeah.
But I did go on
That's
dates with
funny.
women. It just felt more friend vibes every time I did. And I think I always
Okay.
knew romantically I'd end up with a guy, but like I'm still attracted to women.
Yeah.
So
I think
sexuality is weird
that
like that, right? It's
it
ever like super
is.
cut and dry.
No, and I feel like, I mean, I just remember being young and kind of experimenting with that kind of stuff. And you're just, with your friends or whatever, you're just trying stuff. And it's funny how you can kind of get in your head, you're like, oh my God, do I like women? Am I lesbian? You start
Yeah,
having
yeah.
all these questions and stuff. And then I think, for me, just kind of going through the process, I've never like dated a woman or anything. I find women very attractive. I find myself looking at women's asses all the time. I
Well,
don't know
sometimes
why.
do I want to have that or do I just like it? You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like, are you
Yes.
jealous? Or are you into it?
Exactly. Am I looking at it because I want her ass, or do I
Yeah.
want her ass?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. And I always like think that. And then I'm like, oh, but when I think about actually living day in and day out with a woman, I don't see myself doing that. And so I
Yeah.
guess that's, I think everybody has a little bit of that in them. Women are
Yeah, it's a spectrum.
attractive. What do
Yeah.
we,
Yeah. Also, I think like like as a just what I've learned, I think women are just more attractive than men in general, like
yes,
just across the board.
for sure. We
Yeah,
care
which
more
is
about
another
ourselves.
reason why I think men have a little easier with attraction. Not gonna lie.
Yes, yes, because it's pretty easy right off the bat. We don't have to do too much for them to be attracted to us,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah.
That's funny. So now, okay, so you're still attracted to him, but your relationship is not open now.
No. And I'm
No.
okay with that. Like I know I had plenty of experiences leading up to this. So I feel like pretty satisfied. Like I don't
Yeah.
not like I have friends who have come out after marriage and they're struggling because
Yeah.
now they're in a monogamous marriage and have to navigate that. And you don't have to, you can be open, like you can decide
Yeah.
that together.
Yeah.
But it doesn't fit for everyone. So I would not want to be in that situation. And
No.
I'm glad I'm not.
Does your husband ever get worried? I mean, I don't know how much you talk about it. Does he ever get worried that like an attractive woman? I feel like I would think about that as with if I was with a guy that I was with. So my last guy that I dated was very into other women. We'll just say it like that. And so anytime we'd be out and I'd see an attractive woman, I know my insecurities would come out because I'd be like, oh, I bet he finds her like really attractive. So I would just think, I wonder if that works the same way.
No,
No,
he's not. He
he's
doesn't. He
secure.
knows that I'm really committed. Like I,
Yeah.
in my dating history, have never cheated on anyone.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm not, once I'm in a relationship, it's like I'm not looking outside of
Yeah.
it. And if we ever wanted to open it up in any way, because there's so many options, like we
Yeah.
might, but also I'm okay with not. Like I've,
Not.
you know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah.
okay with it. I've
Yeah.
accepted this. That if this is it, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Thanks for being
Yeah.
open on that.
Of course.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit further about staying grounded in early dating. What does that mean,
Yeah.
and how does someone just do that?
Oh my, I'm so glad you asked this. This
Yeah.
is so hard. This is like the
Very.
hardest part of dating because like the second you meet someone and you have a crush, you are
Our
just
heads in
yeah,
the
you're
clouds.
fantasizing, right? You're just starting to like you're future tripping, which is like when you are thinking about your a fake future with someone that you just
Yeah.
met. Like you've
Yeah.
planned out the whole wedding, you've planned out your vacations in your mind. And then you become suddenly very emotionally attached to the fantasy, but it feels like you're getting attached to the person. But there is a
Uh,
difference. So staying
yeah.
grounded is I'm not saying you need to stop doing that. You need to realize what is fantasy and what is reality.
Mm.
Like you can say you can fantasize, it's okay. Just
Yeah.
recognize that's a fantasy. That's not real. So staying grounded also is relevant to the negative when you are interacting with someone and you all of a sudden have the story in your head that they hate you for some reason. But
Oh, yeah.
that's also fantasy. That's also just a projection. It's not real. So I'm always like, zoom out and focus on the facts. When was the last time they texted you? Do you
Hmm.
have plans on the calendar? Are they making time to see you? Are they asking you questions? Are they interested in you? Like, what are the facts?
Mm.
Feelings are not facts. They're valid, they're good
Yeah.
information, but they're not facts. So it's really
Mm.
important to just have that distinction.
And we always try to date with the potential of somebody, right? Isn't
Yeah,
like
when
we're
we have
we're
to stop.
we just got to stop that, people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found myself doing that quite often, like thinking, well, he's okay, but he could be really great
Yeah, no,
later, you know?
I always say like from date one, assume they'll never change. Assume
Mm,
literally how you experience someone in the first few dates, that's exactly how they're going to be when you are
yeah.
married.
And are
Like,
you,
and I think
yeah,
it's true. Yeah.
yeah. And are you okay with that? And if you
Yeah,
are, then
exactly.
great. But if you're
Like,
not,
yes, people will change, but we're not in control of how. Like, of
mm,
course, we're always evolving and changing as humans,
yeah,
but you're not in control of how your partner changes, and you can't change, warp them to fit your ideal person. It's like they are or they're not.
yeah.
Yeah.
As hard as we try to push a square peg into a round hole. I've done that many, many
Yeah.
times. And you're just like, you want it to work so bad, but it just, if it's just not meant to be, you just have to come to terms with that and appreciate it for
Hmm.
what it is, right? And so, what about like playing games? I used to love to play games. Why do we get so caught up in them? And how can we get someone back on track if they find themselves constantly doing this?
Yeah, I mean, there's no use in trying to make a game player a straight player. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like
Straight player.
there's if someone's playing games with you, it's better to just cut them loose rather than trying to get them to just be real with you.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, it's important to catch yourself in your own game playing. That's what you can control. So, like, when you catch yourself doing that thing where you're like, oh, well, I'm gonna wait to text them so they think I'm like busy.
Yes.
No, but you have to
No.
be yourself. If you're not busy, you're not busy. Okay.
Yeah.
If you actually want to be busy, then go actually do something. Like go to the gym, like go get your nails done. I don't know. Like,
Yeah. Be
go do
busy so you're
something.
not
Yeah.
actually, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you have to catch yourself and also I think that games are really manipulative.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not gonna manipulate your best match into being with you. You're not gonna,
Mm.
that's not how it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're gonna just show up as you, they're gonna show up as them, and you're going to choose to be together. You don't have to
Yeah.
manipulate people into liking you. And if you do, they're not for you.
Right. That is such a big revelation, though, that we don't realize that. We just keep trying and trying and trying all these different things to make it work. So if you like, okay, so say you go out on a date and then you get back from the date. Do you recommend that the woman reaches out and says something? I used to
Yes.
kind of do that when I used to actually take it from when the man would go, "Hey, text me when you're home safe," which I think is really great for men to do. And then when I would get home, I would use that as my opportunity to go, "Hey, I'm home. I had a great time. Look forward to seeing you again," or "Had a great time, but however, I'm just not feeling the
Yeah.
chemistry." This is kind of a good
Yeah.
time to do that, right?
I think text you there, I'm so annoyed with all this gendered stuff around who does what because
Yeah.
I believe that relationships are collaborative. Okay.
Hmm.
If you want to be in a relationship with someone, like you have to show interest, you have to pull your weight. Obviously, if you are the only one showing interest, then okay, it's imbalance and you need to step back.
Yeah.
But yeah, sending a text after a date is not over the top. Like, could you imagine someone who really likes you then gets a text from you and is like, no,
No.
like, what's not going to happen? The
Yes, they're
person
gonna
who
like
likes you, they're going to
it.
be thrilled to hear from you and they're going to text
Yeah.
you back to be like, oh my God, I had a great time too. Like, that is, you need to show interest if, because what ends up happening is that there's like two people who are both too scared to show interest and then it just
Yeah.
dies.
Yeah. So can the women be aggressive in the way of like saying, "Hey, so do you want to go out again?" Would you suggest that, or that they just kind of wait, at least wait a little?
I think give them a chance. Give them a
Yeah.
chance to initiate. Like,
Hmm.
if you text them after I had a great time, hope you have a great night. Like, and
Yeah.
then see what they say. They might be like, yeah, let's do this again. Are you free Wednesday? You don't have to drive it necessarily.
Okay.
Like give
Okay.
them a chance. And if they're texting you and then they're not asking and they've been texting you for like a few days, then you can be like, do you want to meet up again?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's annoying.
It
Like,
is. It is
yeah.
annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
I
a
will
lot
say
of
with my
things.
husband, like he initiated like all of our early dates. Like he just kept making plans and we ended up seeing each other like twice a week in the beginning.
Okay.
Um, which is good. I kept my dates very short. So
Oh, I've heard
yeah,
that
yeah.
before. Like just keep them like short because you want to have things to talk about when you get together. Sometimes you can spend so much time talking together. Is that kind of why you did it, or is there other reasons?
Well, yeah, kind of. I think, well, there's a dating expert, Logan Yuri. She talks about it. It's like the longer your date, it's like what you remember is the beginning and the end. So the
Hmm.
longer the date is, the lower energy the end is going to be because you're just lower energy, right? It's just like you
Yeah.
spent a lot of time together. So you want to end on a high note. So you're
Yeah.
more likely to end on a high note if it's short and sweet because
Okay.
you still have energy. For me though, also it's like, why are you giving someone 8 hours of your day that you just met? Like, I'm not going to give you a whole
Oh,
Sunday. No,
yeah.
like you get a
Okay.
coffee, like
Yeah.
yeah.
So what is considered too long? Or like how long would you make the day?
Yeah, I think for a first date, 45 minutes to an hour and a half, perfect.
Mm.
One
Okay.
one drink could turn into two drinks, but that's it.
Yeah.
That's like where you call it. Like one drink and or two drinks.
Yeah.
Then after that, like maybe a dinner, the length of that. So it's like 90 minutes to 2.5 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but I don't think you should be spending a whole weekend with someone or doing sleepovers until you are officially in a relationship with them.
Yeah. That's a
You
good
don't need to
point.
give someone that much of your time that you're not
Yeah.
committed to because then when they don't
Uh,
commit, you feel really crappy.
you do. Or you're stuck then if you're not in it
Yeah.
anymore. Now you just spend a whole weekend with them and then you're trying to figure out a way out.
Yeah. And it's like
That's so
that's what
fun.
happens with people. This is a huge mistake I see in dating is rushing the connection and spending way too much time with each other early on because this is what happens. Like when you spend all this energy talking to someone who is a stranger, you have to spend a lot of energy getting to know them. You have to be
Mm.
on for
Yeah.
a whole weekend. And then at the end of the weekend, you're going to feel depleted,
Yeah.
especially for guys. Like if you're an introvert, you need to withdraw.
Yeah.
And the other person's be like, what happened? You're ghosting me. Oh, the energy's off. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
it's because you jumped in too deep. You jumped into
Too
the
deep.
deep end too quickly. Yeah, like, it's got tiring treading all that water in the deep end. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I think it's really important to work up to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think that makes sense. And do you suggest not doing dinner on a first date? Like you would recommend just
No.
coffee or a drink?
I mean, I think if you do a phone screening and then dinner, it could work.
Mhm.
But dinner for the first time you're meeting someone, no.
No. Yeah.
You're trapped.
You
Like,
are.
yeah, you're just trapped. I've been trapped on really bad dinner dates. Never
Yeah.
again.
It's so
Like,
hard to get. It's not worth the free dinner.
yeah, no.
No,
And
it's
sometimes it's
not.
not even free, okay?
Yeah, I
Sometimes they
know.
still ask you to split. So,
Have you had that happen where you have to? I think I've only very rarely, but I did have a guy, and this is goes back to my episode, "You cheap ass motherfucker" episode, where the guy literally said to me, "So, how much longer do I need to keep paying for you for?" This was after buying me like a $6 beer. It was so bad. It was
how
so bad.
many dates was this?
That was probably our fourth, maybe fifth date.
I mean,
Yeah.
okay, by then, yeah, you might want to be splitting, but like
Yeah.
that's just a rude way of saying
It
it.
was so rude. And it was after he gave me like the key fob to his, parking garage so I
Okay,
could get in there. I know.
no,
Isn't that?
no, that's
Yeah.
a red flag. You should be
Yeah.
giving your access to anyone until like you're like months into a relationship.
Yeah. Well, he did turn out to be like a Tinder swindler. So it totally
Yeah.
lines up and makes
Oof,
sense. But
oof. Yeah,
yeah, it
no,
was so bad.
for me, like everyone's different. I was not looking for a financial provider. I don't give a
Yeah.
shit. Like, I mean, I want someone to make enough, like I said earlier, to be able to travel, to have
Yep.
discretionary income for that. So it's like you have to be making a certain amount, but
Yep.
I'm not looking for free meals. I can pay for myself.
No.
Like I'm okay. A lot of women are like, well, he didn't pay on the first date. It's like, okay, that doesn't mean that he's not gonna be able to financially provide for your kids. It's just
Yeah.
like maybe he just doesn't want to buy a stranger dinner,
Dinner,
you
which
know?
again, why you just go for a coffee or a drink or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I've always thought like a first date, I think it's a very chivalrous thing to do for the man to offer to pay. I always, like, hey, can I get that with you? And I genuinely say it
Yeah.
like in order to split it, and they almost always will say no. But I think the first date's fine. And then as you go on a little bit further, you start to figure out, well, hey, I'll pay for this or I'll pay for that. I'm usually like,
Yeah.
I got Chipotle or,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
those ones and they can get the other ones. But I do think that's kind of a nice thing every now and then. So you often talk about how to date with being attached to the outcome. What does that mean? How can someone follow you on this lead?
So yeah, dating without being attached to the outcome is like what we were talking about earlier, where you are going on dates not hoping that it's going to be your last, not hoping it's gonna be your relationship. You're just like, let's just see if I want another date. That
Yeah.
is the only question you should be asking yourself at the end of a first date and a second date and a third. Do
Yeah.
I want to see them one more time?
Yeah.
Was this enjoyable enough for me to trade an evening of free time to myself
Yeah.
to see them again? You
And
know?
not in a settling mode either, right? Like, yeah, I'd go out with
No.
them again
Yeah.
because it was okay. It needs to have a little bit of oomph to it, right?
Right.
Like
Like,
something.
was this like, yeah, with my husband, like the first two dates, like, I can't say we got into crazy deep, we didn't have crazy chemistry. We didn't get into like
Mm.
crazy deep conversations, but he made me laugh and it was
Yeah.
easy to talk to him and he wasn't a creep. So, like,
Yeah.
like he was normal. And unfortunately, that is where the bar is. So, like, so like, like I liked how respectful he was. So like I was like, okay. By our third date, I was actually gonna be like, okay, if this date doesn't really spark anything for me, I'm gonna call
Yeah.
it. But then our third date, I felt crazy sparks. So like,
Really?
yeah,
That
we
is
saw
so
a
wild.
comedy show together and we got dinner and like it was just yeah, the
A
sparks were
different
really
side.
there. And then after that, I was like really crushing.
Yeah.
So
So give it a chance a little bit too. If you're feeling enough to at least go on the second date, you're saying you
yeah.
should go for it because you never know what can then come out of
Yeah.
that,
But
right?
it's important to practice not being attached to the outcome just because dating involves a lot of disappointment. It is one of the
Yeah.
things we do in life that most of the time it's going to fail. Most of
Yeah.
the time,
Yeah.
so we need to have that resilience and that mentality to avoid that feeling of disappointment every single time.
But use it as a learning tool too. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
take every date that you went on to figure out why you didn't like it, or if something was weird or if something was off. Like you said, if you get stuck in like a dinner date, okay, now I know going forward, I'm not going to go on dinner dates because that really
Exactly.
sucked.
Yeah.
So I think that's really good, just to kind of learn how to use things as a learning tool instead. So we talked about some of the online dating sites. So, okay, so what would be, you said you liked Hinge, you're a big Hinge promoter. What would be like your top three dating sites that you would recommend for people to join?
But I think the best one's always going to be whichever one is most popular where you are geographically, where there are the most people.
Mm,
I think you should be on two at a time if you are heavily using the apps, like if you are really focusing on them.
yeah,
And I think, yeah, Hinge is across the board a great one because there isn't swiping. You have to take action. You
yeah,
have to comment and like on a picture. You can't just like mindlessly swipe. as
Yes.
much. So the Hinge, I think, is the best because that I like Tinder a lot. I think Tinder, even though the problem with Tinder is that people don't fill out their profiles very much, but
Yeah.
people are pretty active and they will meet off Tinder. Like
Yeah.
it's pretty good. Um, and then I really like Bumble, as much as we were shitting on it earlier, it's fine. Like there are a lot of
Yeah.
people on it, so it works. And
Yeah.
then I've heard, so those are the top three because they're the most popular. But there
Yeah.
are a lot of alternative new apps coming out, and there's ones like Coffee Meets Bagel, which I've heard people have luck with. That one
Okay.
only gives you three matches a day or something. There's
Oh,
Thursday where you only get matches on Thursday. There's all kinds of weird ones with like gimmicks like that. Yeah.
yeah. I think that's fun. I remember I liked Tinder because I actually met quite a few people in there, but the
Yeah.
one thing I didn't like is it's kind of like the geographic thing. It comes up everywhere. Like you can match with somebody who lives like I'm in
Right.
LA and they live in Florida and I'm like, well, what was the point of that,
Yeah.
because it doesn't really limit. I guess maybe unless you pay. I wasn't really paying. But I think also paying is a little bit more being intentional with the dating, right? When you're actually making the effort to pay for your account because you
Yeah.
can do all of them for free and do something. But if you really want to find somebody and you're really being intentional about that, then it's time to pay up. You
I
think?
did pay for the whole year that I was dating
Oh,
on Hinge. Yeah. And
okay.
I'm glad because I needed those unlimited likes and
Yeah,
comments to
yeah,
get all the people I think I had over 400 matches on Hinge when I was done with it.
yeah.
And I only
Wow.
met like 10%, like 40 people, like very
Yeah.
small amount. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. And
Because
were you change?
if you get for every like 10 matches you get, you might meet one of them. That's the
Yeah,
thing about dating apps. Like it is very much casting a wide net. You're only going to win if you need to be way, way, way more open when you're viewing profiles because the chances of actually meeting it are so low that you have
yeah.
to be open. Like you can't be
Oh,
judgmental and use them.
yeah. And did you find, were you like changing your profile as you went through it? Or like, how did you, I
Yeah.
guess, when you started the dating, because you'd been in the 6 year relationship, so you weren't really, this was kind of new to you, right? With the online
Yeah.
dating. So you probably start out and then you're kind of changing your profile as you go and changing pictures and changing things. I kind of heard that you should write in the about you, like write things that are about you that you want them you want to do together, right? More so than just
Yes.
like other
You're
things.
basically you're putting up your little flag of like, here are the things I like, and I'm trying to
Hmm.
attract someone who likes these things too.
Hmm.
That is it. So yeah, definitely. And the more specific you are, the better. Like, don't say you like
Sure.
travel. What kind of travel do you like? Are you a window seat person? Are you an aisle seat person? Are you mountains or
Yeah.
are you city? Be specific. Are you obsessed with like Latin countries or like are you going to Japan? Like, where are you going?
Okay. No, that
So
makes sense because
yeah,
everybody
like you
loves to
can't just
travel, but
yeah, exactly. So it's
where?
like if you're like, I like to go running, it's like, where? Like on
Yeah.
the treadmill? Like what, it's
Yeah. Or
like
hiking.
be
Yeah.
as specific as possible. Everyone likes coffee and a lazy Sunday morning, so you need to
Hmm.
stand out. Did I change my profile? Yes, I change my profile constantly. Look, I don't recommend this. Like, this is not normal
Uh-huh.
behavior, but I would like A/B test my profile constantly. I was optimizing it. If
Yeah.
something wasn't getting any responses, I'd change it. And if something was
Oh,
getting hearts and comments all the time, I'd leave it. And that by the end, I had a great profile. And yeah, in the
okay.
beginning, when I first got on, I definitely was only swiping on the most attractive men, and they
Hmm.
were definitely the biggest assholes.
For
Like,
sure.
yeah, the most
Yeah.
screwed up, you know?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. That's how we come into it. And we're just
Yeah,
like,
like they were the
okay.
fuckboys. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I remember doing that. And then you're always end up being disappointed because that you got to
Yeah.
just lead with something different than the attraction. And I think that can often come, like you said, it can come at a later time, or you kind of find it along the way. And yeah, I started doing the same thing too. I started changing things up, and I would often change out my pictures and try to
Yeah.
change out my profile just to give something fresh and new. I think it's good to keep it up as fresh because you know how many times you go through there and you see the same people over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh, they're still here,
There
huh?
you are. And then
Yeah.
in Seattle, I would see them in person too. Like, because
Oh,
Seattle's kind of
yeah.
small. So I see them
Yeah.
walking around like, oh, I saw you.
I saw you.
That's what you look like in real life.
Not not who it was on
Sometimes
there.
better. Sometimes they
Oh,
look better. Most of the times I do. I think for guys, honestly, most of the time they look
yeah.
better in person unless their pictures are not accurate.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a lot of pictures. We as women, we have so many pictures to choose from all the
I
time. Like
know.
guys just don't.
Yeah.
My husband had several pictures of him with different hair lengths. So I actually didn't know which hair length I was gonna get. And I kind of like that
Oh,
when I saw
yeah, it's
he had like
surprise.
short it was like pictures throughout his entire hair growing process, I guess. Because
Because
it
it's
was like
long now, right?
now it's long.
Yeah.
So that was funny.
That's funny. Did you have anything happen on the whole dating escapade that you were like anything crazy happen, or did you get catfished or anything like that?
I got hair fished a few times.
What the
Like
hair?
they had pictures of them where they hid their baldness or their old pictures. And I don't mind baldness. It's just like
Yeah.
don't just be accurate. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't bother me. It bothers me that you're trying to lie, basically,
It's
visually
worse to
lie.
show up and have them be bald at one point. I started assuming that anybody that was wearing a hat in every single picture is
Well,
probably
yeah.
bald.
One person that comes to mind is like he was balding in just like one specific spot in his head and it did look kind of weird. And so certain angles, like you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
And when I met him, it's like he's a perfectly like nice, attractive person. It's like, okay, someone is eventually gonna tell him to shave his head and it'll be
Yes.
fine. And
Yes.
you know,
I have that. I
it's
had
like that's fixable.
Yes, those are the fixable things. I know I had one date with a guy that a couple of things that went really wrong. He showed up to a nice restaurant wearing like Birkenstock sandals, which I was like, okay, I should not be seeing your toes at a really nice
Yeah,
steakhouse.
in LA,
But
no. Seattle,
no,
acceptable. LA, absolutely not.
LA not happening. And then he had a really bad like hairline, like went way back. And I just wanted to be like, just shave it. Like
Yeah,
you got a
just shave
great
it.
head, just shave that shit. And I think a lot of guys don't realize that a lot of women do like bald men. I like bald men. I like more of like
It
an
just looks
intentionally
clean.
bald.
It's yeah, it's clean. It's like it looks very striking. Like it can look
It
really good.
does. If they have a
Yeah.
great face. Now, if it goes a little alien, I remember my girlfriend sending me one picture when she was dating. She's like, "Is this a little bit too much alien looking?" And I was like, "Oh shit, yes."
Wow,
Like it
yeah.
was like the cone heads, And I'm like,
Oh, they gotta
poor
shave your
guy.
head. I think, yeah, a bald with a beard can work.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Okay, so what are the three most important things or steps you would share with my listeners that could help them get to a more happier, fulfilling dating life?
I think the number one thing is to align your actions with your feelings and what you want. So that's kind of going back to the game plan question you asked earlier. Like,
Hmm.
if you want another date, do your actions align with that? Like, are your actions supporting you moving towards another date with that person? Are you
Yeah.
showing interest? Are you asking them questions? Like, putting in the effort you want to see.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. The second thing is like stop taking everything so personally. How
Yeah.
people behave and react to you is more about them than you. Like getting
Huge.
rejected is about them, not you. We
Yeah.
all have preferences, and when in dating, we all have to pick one flavor of ice cream. That means we're rejecting all of the other ice creams, which are good. Like,
Yes.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like so it's just because someone rejects you, just don't turn it into this big story about how you're undesirable and undateable. It's like, no, that one person just has different preferences. They just like
Yeah.
vanilla and you're strawberry. It's
Yeah.
fine. Like,
It's so true. I used to put on
yeah.
my profile, well, I always had on there because I'm tall. I'm like 5'9" and
Oh,
a half
wow.
or something. Yeah, I'm pretty tall. And so,
It's funny
you
because you
know,
can't tell when we're sitting down.
I
It's
know
like,
we
I'm a
looked
shorty.
exactly the same. But when you're standing up to a guy who's like 5'10" or 5'11", it is so minimal. It is so
Yeah.
minimal, right? So as soon as I put on heels, then I'm taller. And I just can't do the shorter than me dating guy. My limbs are very long. It just doesn't line up. I've tried it. But like I put on my profile like taller man, and I was like, sorry, not sorry. And I had people like really blasting me back, like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
like
Just their
yeah.
insecurities.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, obviously you're short, so that's why you're saying that. But you're also like, who cares? Why do you get to say you prefer a brunette or a blonde over that? Why can't I say I prefer a taller man?
Yeah,
It's
no,
just
it's
a
fine.
preference.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
isn't like an HR decision.
No.
It's like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like
We're
people
not
used
being
to get mad at me about
discriminated.
like they used to get annoyed that I'm like, oh, you want someone who's left the country. Like that's so elitist. And I'm like, travel is a big part of my life. I don't know. I
Yeah.
want someone to travel with. Like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Exactly.
You'll find a homebody to date. I'm not that. So
Yeah. And
like,
that's what it is. It's just about finding the right person that matches up
yeah.
with your stuff and aligns with that. And everybody, you're right. We take it too personally because I
Yeah.
would do that. I'd be like, oh, he's
Nah.
really
And
mad at me. And I'm like, I
the
don't even
third
know this
thing
guy.
The third thing I'd say is like find the parts of dating you enjoy that will make you keep going when you feel
Yeah.
stuck. Obviously taking breaks is great, but like what are the aspects of dating that you like to keep you going even when you are on a date with a dud?
Yeah.
Is it the restaurants? Is it the bars? Is it the activities? Is it getting dressed up? Is it like, like what are
I
the
love
parts? Like
that.
I loved listening to music after work, putting my makeup on and getting dressed up and going out, even if the
Yeah.
date sucked. You
Yeah.
know?
No, you're right, because it gave you something to do and it's about what you're feeling good
Yeah,
about
I felt
yourself, right?
very like feminine. I felt very like hot and just it was so even if the date sucked, I was like, whatever, I'm still hot. Like,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like I still have my dog, I still have my
Yeah.
apartment, like
I'm good.
living my life. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's such a great mindset. And I think it's really hard for a lot of people to get to that point because we do take everything so personally. And then they go on a date, it doesn't work out, and they're just like, oh, I'm worthless, all this stuff. And so
Yeah.
you just want them to realize, no, love yourself. And everything goes back to loving yourself,
Yeah,
though.
right. It all
Mhm.
does.
Yeah, that's all it is. Oh my God. Well, this is such great information. Thank you for coming on to talk to me about that and talk to my listeners.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that anything to help them get back out on the horse and start dating again is really great. And to date intentionally, I think is huge. But you, again, have to be in that right space, right? You want to date with a purpose and find somebody that
Hmm.
actually is on the same playing field as you, wants to go in the same direction, and not be chasing the guy that I'm speaking from experience, that does not want to settle down and they just want to have a good time because we all think we can change them. Those
Nope,
things.
you
You
can't.
can't. You can't. That's the main point. Okay, so tell everybody where they can find you. I want you to give out your social media handles,
Yes.
anything you want them to know.
You are welcome to slide into my DMs at dating.intentionally on Instagram. And my podcast is called Dating Intentionally. It's on all platforms and YouTube.
I love it. Awesome. Okay, so before you go, I'd love to play this little game from Mrs. to Ms. Some fun facts.
Okay,
Okay, so it's just a would you rather. It's 10 questions based on
let's
dating.
do it.
Yes. Okay, so number one, would you rather go on a spontaneous weekend getaway with someone new or have a perfectly planned romantic night at home with someone you've gone out with a few times?
The second one.
The second one. So you like to kind of get to know them and
I want
as
security.
yeah.
I want this. I don't like being away with someone new just sounds like a nightmare. Like being overnight with someone
That
new.
really does. It
Yeah,
did
yeah,
not align with what you said today either. My question did not align with that.
yeah.
Don't go away with somebody new. Okay, number two, would you rather get a flirty text that makes you blush or a surprise phone call that sweeps you off your feet? You text her or
The
call?
second one.
Call,
The
you like
second
to
one, that's
do.
what my husband did. He used to call me all the time. He called me like multiple times a day. It was so cute. Like he just
Oh,
wanted to keep talking to
just
me. It
talk
was
to
so cute.
you.
Yeah.
Oh, love that. Okay, number three, would you rather share an intense, passionate moment in private or flirt endlessly in public, making everyone jealous? PDA.
Oh man, that's tough. I think the public one is more fun.
It's so fun.
I like an across the room like
Oh
little eye
yeah.
contact
That's hot.
smile like
That's
moment. It's
yeah.
fun.
And I like a get like a little kiss. I don't like when you see people making out in public. I'm like,
No, no,
that's
nothing like that.
gross,
But
but a
like
little something.
I would say my husband and I are very flirty around our friends, but not in a gross way that I think at
Oh,
least.
but I
They
think
haven't
that's
talked to us
awesome.
about it, so maybe
Maybe they
hopefully I'm
do.
right.
They're gonna be coming and going, I'm sorry,
We need
Talia.
to have an
We really
intervention.
don't
You're
like that.
too lovey-dovey.
Yeah, but what I have to say though, I think a lot of times when people are really funny about it or grossed out by it to an extent, that there's jealousy there.
Yeah, a
Everybody
little
wants to have that person that's just so into them like that.
bit.
Nothing wrong with that. All right, number four, blindfolded surprises or playful role play.
Mm, it's tough. I guess blindfold surprises. I don't think
Mm,
I'd be good at role play.
I don't think I would either. I've said that on here so many times. I'm like, I've never done it. I think I'd be laughing the whole time.
Yeah, I think I could do it for like a few seconds. I just wouldn't be able to
And
keep it
then,
up.
yeah,
Like I can't commit to the
what's the
role.
point? All right, number five, would you rather have a partner who's always subtly flirting? Wait, maybe this is kind of the same one. Wait, would you rather have a partner who's always subtly flirting with you in public or one who saves all the passion for when you're alone? A little
Oh yeah,
different.
public still.
You're still public.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay, I like it. Number six, would you rather have the ability to read your partner's mind during sex or be able to control their sensations with just a touch?
Wait, the sensations what?
So with just a touch. So you can touch them and control
Oh,
their sensations or read their mind during sex.
definitely the second one. I don't need to know what he's thinking about. We had to We need to have some mystery in
We
relationships. Come
need
on.
to. It would be like that movie, What Women Want or What Men Want, but I think it
Yeah.
would go to like another extreme. I know what I think about during
Yeah, I don't
sex.
want to, I don't need to know. It's okay.
We don't need to know. All right, number 7, trying new positions or mastering the old ones.
No.
No.
Yeah, I like being,
I
it's
like
fun
that.
to be silly. It's like, well, will this even work? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, good. I like that. Number 8, would you rather be with someone who makes you feel butterflies with every touch or someone who can seduce you, I'm sorry, with just your words?
Um, can I have both?
Yeah. I'm always scared of
It's
butterflies
hard.
these days because I always thought of butterflies like I'm like, I want to meet somebody that gives me butterflies, but now I'm hearing those are more a sign of
Yeah.
like a beware sign.
It is more of like a, yeah, like your nervous system is activated and that you're not necessarily, which is
Um,
like okay. Like I don't think butterflies are
yeah.
like the kiss of death on a connection. It's just like it just might mean that this person makes you extremely nervous. And
Yeah.
that might, and I think what gets confusing is if you don't feel them, people think they don't like someone, but that's not the case. Butterflies don't have to be there. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've just always thought like, well, I didn't feel butterflies with him, so I'm out, you know?
No, no,
But
no.
okay. Number 8, or I'm sorry, number 9, slow dancing in the living room or spontaneous dance moves in the kitchen.
Kitchen every time.
Yeah. Fun. And last question, would you rather kiss in the rain or under the stars on a clear night?
Stars. I don't want to get wet. I'm not, I want to stay dry.
I'm seeing a theme
Yeah.
here. She's like, okay, I don't want to be on this. I don't want to feel uncomfortable coming in and
Yeah.
role play. I want it to be like, and I'm
Yeah.
good. I like
Oh
it.
God. I'm gonna send
That's
this would you
okay.
rather to my therapist. You're like, what's going on?
I know. You're gonna be like, why am I like all of these things? And she's
Yeah.
like, it's okay. It's okay. You like what you like. No worries. No
That's
worries.
so
Oh
fun.
my gosh. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Talia. This was so much fun. I love talking about dating, period. I just think there's so much
Yeah.
information, so many routes to go all the time, and so many questions for people out there. So if you guys out there have questions, you can reach out to either one of us. You can email me at info@frommrs2ms.net. You can reach out to Talia. What's your email?
My
That's
email is datingintentionallypod@gmail.com.
perfect. So if you guys have questions, scenarios, comments, suggestions, if you love this episode, let us know. We'd love to hear back from you guys. And you guys can find me on any major streaming platform. And I look forward to talking to you again next week. Bye.
From Mrs. to Ms. Podcast.